and I'd spent time in technology, obviously, time in education, and worked a lot on helping others do the same thing that I did, a lot of angel financing and mentoring of other startup companies. And when September 11th happened, it really hit me in the chest. I thought, this country's been good to me. What have I done to deserve it? And I didn't have a good answer. And I was actually moose hunting in Alaska when September 11th happened. So I was one of the last people on the planet to find out about it. I didn't see it on TV. And got stuck there because the borders were closed. I couldn't fly over Canada. And as soon as I could get home, I walked into a recruiter's office. I said, hey, I've got a pilot's license. I used to, was a researcher at NYU. What can you do with me? And the recruiter says, how old are you? I go, 34. He goes, good, 35 is the cutoff. So ended up getting recruited into actually it's interesting because first, I was non-prior military. I had no idea what I was doing. And so they send me out to take the ASVAB, the Vocational Aptitude Battery, and to see what you're good at. And I come back with my test scores, and the recruiter rolled his eyes, said, okay, well, you qualify for any job that I offer. I said, well, I want to do something meaningful. He says, well, have you ever thought about going into Intel? I never thought about going into anything. And so I just said, I want to do something meaningful. And so I talked to him a little bit, and I said, it sounds like I'm going to be sitting in a dark room staring at a computer. I don't think I'm going to thrive there. And so then he has this other guy, Chief Rhodes, comes in and talks to me. And he says, I've got this horrible job, I'm losing my hearing, my back hurts, my knees are blown out, but it's the best thing I could imagine doing with my life. I said, well, what do you do? He says, well, we take these 22,000-pound helicopters and we fly them in formation 50 feet off the deck in the middle of the night with night vision goggles on. We go out in the desert, we find busted up kids, and we bring them home. And the hair stood up on the back of my neck, and I go, that's me. And so I got sworn into Combat Search and Rescue Squadron.
Being a physician is inherently about trying to help people, make a positive difference in people's lives, and listening. When I spend most of my day as a doctor sitting in a room alone with a patient and listening to what's on their mind, to what's bothering them, to what hurts, and then talking together to figure out a health plan to go forward. Being a legislator is a lot like that. We door knock, we have town halls, we listen to our constituents, gather that information, and then come up with a plan, which sometimes is in the form of a bill or some kind of legislation. So I come from a science-based background, so I like evidence and facts, and I try to pursue policy that is evidence-based in that same way.
This began with my grandfather, also named Nick Begich. He first ran for Congress in 1968 and was not successful in that race. Ran again in 1970 and beat a gentleman named Frank Murkowski for the seat in 1970. Served until 1972, when sadly he was on a plane flight, disappeared, was never found in 1972. It was late in the election cycle, and actually he ended up winning the race anyway. There was a special election, of course, because the plane was not found, he was not found, and winning that special election was Don Young, who became, as many people know, the longest serving Republican in the U.S. House history. So moving forward from that, I have an uncle named Mark Begich. Mark Begich was a United States Senator from Alaska, defeated Ted Stevens in 2008 and served one term in the United States Senate. So I do come from a line of traditional Democrats, but I was actually raised on my mom's side of the family. Mom's side of the family is conservative Republican, father's side of the family is Democrat, and of course I'm a Republican.
So I was a deputy legal advisor. I was a lieutenant colonel assigned to the White House on a detail. Deputy legal advisor on the National Security Council staff, the chief ethics official on the National Security Council staff. And so I worked right across the hall from my twin brother, and he had the portfolio of Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Moldova. He listened to the phone call. He heard the president's attempt at extortion, and he reported it directly to me. We talked about it briefly, and we knew we had a duty to report that call. We reported up the chain, and the rest is history.